Hey, Faith, we're going to take another quick dive into the book of Philippians. We're still in chapter 1, and we're just moving through some select verses as we go. And I come to the beginning of verse 19 and a few following, where we see that what Paul is addressing here is a hard to grasp mindset that I think is really important for all of us as believers to wrestle with from time to time. He says, verse 19, "For I know that through your prayers and the help of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, this will turn out for my deliverance." Paul is writing from prison, and he's writing to those who have supported him, and he said, "Because you've been praying for me, I'm confident that I will be delivered." Paul's a little bit ambiguous as to whether or not he's talking about deliverance from prison or deliverance from his trials and then released to be at home with the Lord, but he goes on to clarify a little bit in the coming verses. So we continue in verse 20. He says, "As it is my eager expectation and hope that I will not be at all ashamed, but that with full courage now, as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death." This is the part that I'm saying I need to wrestle with from time to time. He goes on to say, perhaps one of Paul's most famous statements is, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." And I've wrestled with this these verses for a long time. I remember hearing teaching on this that Paul would actually say that, and I remember thinking, with my life ahead of me and with all of my ambitions and the things that I hadn't yet experienced and all the things that I wanted to accomplish in life and everything, thinking, that just sounds like the kind of thing you're supposed to say. But you're not necessarily saying it from a place of conviction. For me to live is Christ. In other words, I don't want to be here anymore necessarily, but if I stay alive, then Christ is in that because he has more for me to do, and it's for your good, as he will say a little bit later on. But to die is actually better. And I remember thinking, again, as a much younger individual, a lot less gray hair than I have now, that that seems like the kind of thing we're supposed to say in faith, that it's better to be with Jesus. But I had a hard time really acknowledging that myself, for thinking to be with Christ is better than being here before I've accomplished the things that I've accomplished, before seeing the birth of my children. And then that can just keeps getting kicked down the road, doesn't it? That I'm not ready to let go of the things that I have and experience here on this earth in a faithful statement of saying to die is gain. To be with Jesus would be far better for me. We are created, I believe, with the desire to take our next breath. That even though we are promised a life far better beyond what we can see in this world, we still crave and desire the life we have now. And that isn't necessarily an immature thing as much as it is a thing that we were created with. However, those that are in Christ understand that all that is going on today, the pains, the difficulties, the not yet realized even possibilities, all of those things pale in comparison to all that Jesus has been building for us. I remember a song, an old Keith Green song back from the very early 80s, and I remember him kind of introducing this song in a concert setting and just saying, making the comparison of, if it took God 6 days to make everything that we find to be so miraculous and beautiful, which is the earth that we live in, and all of its surrounding glories and the ways that our jaws drop. And he said, and he's been building for us our existence to come for all of eternity. He's been building it for the last 2,000 years. Can you imagine the comparison? The difference and the distinction is what we took to be so beautiful and so impactful and so perfect, and what he's really preparing for us. So I'm just preparing our thoughts, I guess, a little bit to go into some of Paul's further statements that he makes about wrestling about whether or not this imprisonment that might lead to his death is better for him and something he would enjoy more, versus the ability or the opportunity to remain on this earth and to keep ministering to those that God has put in his path. I don't think that the answers to these things are very clear, very black and white, and I think if we're being honest, we wrestle with those things from day to day. Some days we're tired of the of the difficulty. Some days we're tired of the fight, and so we long to be with him. Other days we love everything that's happening in this world, and we don't want to lose it, don't want to give it up. And we want to say to the Lord, don't come back yet. Not ready for this yet. I want to keep enjoying this. And I think that's going to be our existence. We're going to toggle between the two, all the while maturing in our faith, getting a better grasp of the fact that the Lord is preparing for us something far better than even what we experience here. That can be encouraging for both the person who's struggling and encouraging for the person who's really enjoying everything that the Lord has given them here on this earth. So I hope those thoughts are provoking. I hope they're encouraging for your day. And I wish you the Lord's best as you go throughout the week.